we're just going to talk about some things that you need to be aware of, some warning signs.
Signs that your marriage might be in trouble.
If we see those things, we've got to confront those things. We've got to
That's
move
right.
toward them. We've got to run at them, not away from them. So what's number one? Tell us.
Well, if you're not good at resolving conflict, and listen now, if drama is always a part of your life, what's another warning sign that we might be in trouble?
I'd just say just too busy.
Just always trying maybe to achieve more or to have more. But when that becomes our way of life, 24/7, 365 days a year, I mean, we're trouble waiting to happen.
You're too tired to have conflict. We want people to know that we're driven. Here's the thing. That's not like Jesus. He realizes his purpose, and he's here to accomplish, not just by the drive of success, but he's here to accomplish his purpose, his place, and he's able to navigate that in a way with a little more capacity to reason.
Jesus was not in a hurry.
Your home, it matters. You're there to make a difference.
It is Home Matters podcast time.
Yeah, hello. Welcome to Home Matters.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in today.
We are
Hot
glad
summertime,
you're joining us. Yeah. Not the dog days of summer, but it'll be over before you know it. You know how it is, how time moves.
I love the summer. I know he is not the biggest summer fan. He would rather there be snow on the ground, but I like the beach.
Yep. Well, we're going to enjoy the beach some, and we'll have time where we can kick back and relax and get our toes in the sand.
We hope that you have something planned this summer as well. Hey, as a family,
right?
Come on, make sure, even if you aren't maybe going to the beach or the mountains or wherever.
We know what that's like. Sometimes you can't afford or
that's right.
Just don't want to spend the money on something like that.
Yeah, but you can plan some activities or maybe some things local just to give your family time together. You need that. So make sure.
Talking to somebody earlier today, and they said they're going to do a staycation.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to stay at home. They're going to get off the grid, off the calendar. And
for me, staycation is hard.
Oh, it is for me.
Yeah,
I'm not good with that.
If I'm at home, I can always see that there's something to do. So,
yep.
But anyway.
But now we have taken times like a day where we just hung around the house. Or,
oh, yeah. I love that.
You know that you're not on the schedule.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, there's not anything that you've got
that's
to
right.
do.
If you just won't get encumbered with like house stuff.
Let's get on into our subject because again, we're already kind of concerned with the time element. We're not sure we can get through all the thought today, but again, I think that we're all at a place. So I just want to talk to you a little bit. We always try to make sure we're talking about what you can do and the positives and how you can
practical things.
Yeah, increase your life and your marriage and your family, parenting, all that. Mm-hmm. Today we're going to kind of come from a different angle and don't want to miss out on the reality that there are times in life that you just really have to take a step back and look at yourself, look at your life.
Some examination, right?
Yeah, some self-awareness. We use that word
a
lot.
Word, but most of the time we do that, I feel like, at the beginning of the year. Everybody kind of steps back maybe and takes a look then. So we're doing like 6 months in.
We're doing half year resolutions.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Evaluation, examination, how are we doing? What do we need to look out for?
We have seen where there are places and times in marriage. And again, we're going to be talking about marriage. If you're not married, maybe you're going to be one day. But in that I think that we've seen through the years, people can be doing a lot of the right things.
Yeah.
They can be date nighting. They can be spending some time, going kind of through the mechanical.
Through the motions, the routine.
Go to marriage conferences and still fail to realize that they're in trouble.
That's true. I mean, I've seen it happen. Eric and I have done marriage conferences for decades now. Yeah, it does move every little bit. And the sad reality is that, everybody that's come to a marriage event through the years their relationship didn't always make it, right? I mean,
Right.
just because, and a lot of times I think if we kind of get stuck in that mindset that, hey, maybe we go to church, maybe we're a part of a small group, we go to a marriage conference every now and then. We just kind of assume that some of those things that we are doing that look good, that are good,
yeah,
we think that that's enough somehow. I think,
yeah, and what we're saying is you can be doing all those things, still not be aware,
right?
And we're just going to talk about some things that you need to be aware of, some warning signs that you
we're calling
need to recognize.
Signs that your marriage might be in trouble.
That's and with that, hopefully, if we see those things, we've got to confront those things. We've got to move toward them. We got to run at them, not away from them, and make sure that we are settling these areas.
Yeah, making changes, either personally as a couple, getting help if we need help. Just to make sure that we're on the offense, I would say, just that we're always looking at and being willing to examine and being willing to say, okay, this is a problem. We need to do something about it, right?
So that's a good segue for us to step into number one,
right?
Because I think that we encourage you to realize, man, if this is going on in your relationship, in marriage or other relationships, I think that you have to recognize that they may need help. They may need health check, right?
Yeah.
If these things are happening. So what's number one? Tell us.
Well, if you're not good at resolving conflict, and listen now, if drama is always a part of your life or it's the way of your life, I mean, that's a huge warning sign. I mean, when you say, drama can be a part of our life, you say, well, that can bring on conflict. But along with that, a lot of times we just don't ever deal with conflict or we ignore conflict.
Yeah.
We might have the drama going on all the time, or we might be the silent ones that there's a lot going on. We just aren't addressing
Or
it.
if you think the drama's kind of the thing that you kind of fuels you. I've been around people that seemingly they look for drama. They want drama. It's kind of the thing they live for. That's the reason they stay on social media all the time is because
there's a lot of drama on there.
Yeah. One of the reasons I don't do it as much. So again, with that, what we're saying is there's a place that if you're in a relationship, if you're in marriage and there are things that you've got issues with and you're not resolving those things, that is a warning sign.
Yeah.
I've often said, we are very poor at conflict resolution a lot of times in home and family,
really,
marriage.
Even as Christians, as believers, because I think we take that attitude sometimes that, I'll just be quiet and I just won't say anything, which sometimes that's a very good choice to make. But
sure,
if that's the route you take all the time and everything is just,
especially if you're boiling inside,
yeah.
And again, I know that a lot of times when it comes to things that are going on, everybody has conflict, right? And
Absolutely.
actually, we find that in that healthy conflict actually creates growth in your life.
For sure,
and,
yeah.
So again,
conflict is not a bad thing. We say that.
No,
We've said that for decades.
No.
There's a negative connotation that comes with that word, I feel like. Conflict. Ooh, conflict. But it is in those times where we do grow. That's what Eric just said, where we mature, where we grow up. We learn some things about one another,
conflict is a part of life.
Absolutely.
The way you respond to conflict is what creates your problems. That's what creates your nightmares if you don't respond to it properly. So with that, what does that look like? What does it look like if we're not resolving our conflicts? Maybe we've embraced drama as kind of our MO.
Well, that inability or refusal to resolve conflict, that's a warning sign that we might be in trouble.
Yeah.
But some of the warning signs of that is that we just always just angry, just frustrated you just deal with each
aggravated.
Other out of frustration and aggravation.
Aggravated.
Aggravated.
Yeah.
What about this one? Like you just live in defense mode.
Oh yeah.
Like you can't, one reason you can't resolve a conflict is because you can't even begin to talk about a subject without getting defensive, right?
Yeah, I always say anybody that's defensive all the time, they know they're not giving their best. And that may not be foolproof, but if you deal with somebody that is always defensive, they never accept any kind of responsibility that maybe I do have an issue here, maybe I'm not doing this right. If you're dealing with somebody that's always defensive, more than likely they already know in their heart of hearts that they're not doing their best, that they're not giving it their best. But again, man, in marriage sometimes, you know, if you can never talk about things without there being a heated conversation, then man, you're in a place that you're probably not resolving conflicts. You're not really moving toward any kind of resolution. And again, you may think it's a good thing that he's always just making you mad, or she always just ticks you off, and
it's not cute.
No, it's not. And we deal with that. We see that a lot of times in marriages, dealing with couples sometimes. You deal with it. They act like, you know, that's just the way men are. And, you know, women are crazy, you know, that kind of stuff. And we kind of make light of it. We may not understand them, but they're not crazy. But the reality is when we come through those places, again, the Bible's very plain about not letting anger remain in our life.
That's so true.
It gives actually the opportunity for darkness to work in your life.
That's right.
Ephesians 4:26. Yeah, it talks about there giving place, actually giving opportunity to the devil to work in your life when you let the sun go down on your wrath, when you let anger seethe, when you let anger boil.
Just boil. Yeah. You mentioned, you know, heated conversations. You know, the fact is, in a close, intimate relationship where you spend a lot of time and just life together, there are going to be times where there are heated conversations. And I don't think we should say that a heated conversation is always bad. It's just the ability to go there, to deal with what needs to be dealt with. Now, that doesn't mean we're throwing things and yelling and cussing at one another. I'm not giving permission
for that. She does
that
every few days. She's throwing pots and pans and cussing at me.
Tearing up the stuff.
You can tell I'm abused just by looking at me, right?
No, I'm just saying there may be times in dealing with conflict and resolving issues that you go to those places, but in a relationship where you've grown together, you can go to those places and then resolve back out of that and still have love, still have intimacy, still like want to look at one another and still want to be in the same house. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that just because
have a heated conversation. The problem has been created when that becomes a way of life.
Exactly.
When it's always bickerings, always arguments, if it's always defense, if you're always having to defend yourself, then you're in a place that you need to realize, hey, we need to get help here.
That's right.
We need to work through some things. Get somebody to facilitate some of your issues.
That's right.
If you need to, get a counselor or just somebody, a good friend that loves marriage and they don't want to see that can help you talk through it without screaming and fussing and cussing at each other. And again, that may be extreme.
Look, the Bible says you have to pursue peace. And listen, as a couple, as a family, that should be the desire for our home. So even in the midst of conflict, we're thinking, okay, we're going to work through this, but the end result is we're going to have peace.
Yeah.
We're not going to have nasty attitudes. We're not going to talk harshly to one another all the time. That will not be our way of life. So warning sign, number one. All right. What's another warning sign that we might be in trouble?
I'd just say just too busy.
That's a big one. We say this all the time, busyness and, you know, crazy schedules. That's a way of life.
We talk about that a lot on this podcast. We have talked about it a lot, and I don't want to be too repetitive. I think it's an epidemic, though. I really do. I think it's something that we've embraced in our culture and we say our society.
Like it's cool or something. Like you got to be busy or you're not with it, you know?
Yeah.
And again, we're never promoting laziness, but at the same time, when you are so busy taking care of all the things, and there are a lot of things, right? Home, family, kids, job, you know, church, you know, just sometimes we call it the vicious cycle of more. just always trying maybe to achieve more or to have more. But when that becomes our way of life, 24/7, 365 days a year, we're trouble waiting to happen.
You're too tired to have conflict.
Yeah, you're too tired to resolve conflict. Yeah, you're too tired as a couple to make time.
I say that kind of joking. Well, again, number one reason surveys say that the number one enemy of intimacy, especially the sexual relationship in marriage, is being tired. Too tired.
Just too tired. And listen, when that intimate part of your relationship is broken, and that can be the sexual part, but I'm talking about the overall intimate part where you can't have conversation. You're not close. There's no oneness. When that is broken, you are headed for trouble. Yeah. That is a huge warning sign. If you are working more than you are anything else in your life, if you don't have time for one another, if you don't have time for your kids,
you ain't loving.
If you ain't loving, if you're not spending
loving going
if you're
on.
not taking your wife out to a nice restaurant every now and then and bringing her chocolate covered strawberries and diamonds, I'm getting carried away here.
Yeah,
no, you gotta slow down.
Yeah,
what
the thing is busy is something that can catch up with any of us. I think that one of the things we break all the time, as far if you say, well, people break. I'm a Christian. I want to please God. I would say the commandment that's broken the most is remember the Sabbath, keep it holy. And you say, man, you're going Old Testament on us. No, I'm talking about principle, because that's what Jesus tried to make clear to us, is that principle's in place. And again, we see that there's a place in life that we make Sabbath about things or tradition, or even our religion, when Sabbath acts as a principle that was made to create space for man to find the rest.
Yeah, the rest
that we need,
that your body needs, man, that your mind needs, that your emotions need. We were talking about the staycation earlier. There are times in your life when you have got to just pull back and listen. We're talking to ourselves right now as much as anybody. It is not easy to do. It is not easy to do because, people, things, situations, everything is going to pull on you. But listen, for the health of your relationship, we say it all the time. Everything starts, if you're married, everything starts right here with this relationship.
You're not married.
Well, I'm just talking about in this marriage relationship.
Yeah.
Of course, everything starts with our relationship with Jesus. I'm never discounting that. I'm just saying every other relationship, your job, everything else flows out of the health of this relationship and then our relationships with people.
When we talk about rest, Jesus said, Mark 2, he said, the Sabbath's not made for God, it's made for man. And really and truly, he was being criticized there by the religious crowd, saying, you're breaking these codes or these rules.
The rules.
And he said, look, you need to realize Sabbath wasn't made for you to try to do something to accomplish pleasure with God.
Right.
He said Sabbath was made actually for man to realize that he could step back, that he could rest, and he could trust God. That trust factor is the whole thing of pleasing God. Without faith, it's impossible to please God, right? That's all about pleasing. And so what God wants you to know is if you're willing to shut the clock down, if you're willing to take some time to rest, what you're telling him is, God, I'm going to trust you while I'm resting. I'm going to trust you while I'm away. I'm going to trust you while I take a day off.
That's good.
And again, we struggle with that in our world. I think people take vacations, though. They even take vacations and come back tired.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that one. Yeah,
and
for sure.
Again, I get it. With kids, small kids, you're probably thinking, dear Lord, our vacation, I'm having to keep up with kids and take care of them. And I get that. But the reality is I want you to see beyond just a vacation. I want you to see on a daily that there's a place and a space that you have to just shut it down.
You have to. And can I offer somebody out there listening some freedom in this fact, in this culture we live in, that's pushing, that's driving, that is so busy.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel guilty for doing that. Man, it's easy to say, to feel like you look bad or you look less than because you say, nope, I'm shut down I'm not doing anything about that today. I mean, there's guilt that comes with that. But when you look and you realize even Jesus had to get some time away from people in his 100% humanity, his 100% God. I mean, he still had to take time away. And what an example we have in his life.
I think today, though, you have to step back and say, all right, what's the drive? What's the motive? Mm-hmm. And again, if you're just so spent all the time, I would encourage you, man, that's a warning sign to your life. Mm-hmm. You're just driven. I heard somebody the other day, they were talking about type A, and pastors are bad about bragging about type A. We're type A, and, we want people to know that we're driven. Here's the thing. That's not like Jesus. No. Type A is not like Jesus. Actually, type B is more like Jesus because he realizes his purpose. And he's here to accomplish not just by the drive of success, but he's here to accomplish his purpose, his place, and he's able to navigate that in a way with a little more capacity to reason, be logical.
I love it. Man, Jesus was not in a hurry.
No.
Man, if you look at his life, I mean, he stopped, he dealt with people in their need. I mean, he took a detour if he needed to. I mean, he didn't live in a rush all the time, which is totally opposite than what about 90% of us do.
Listen, Lazarus is dead. That is an urgent matter, right?
We'd have stopped everything.
John 11. Lazarus is dead. And Jesus said, we'll get there. We'll be there.
Chill, everybody. I'm coming.
We're coming.
Oh, man.
But again, it's something that all of us. So again, we're just talking about warning signs. I knew we wouldn't get very far, but we're out of time.
I know.
We got several other things. Join us again next time. We're going to pick up here.
Yeah, come back. I believe these 5 things, they'll make a difference. Man, if you'll identify them in your life and begin to do something about
them. Begin to do number 1.
That's right. It'll change.
Resolve those things.
I believe that.
It will. Hey, always so thankful. Share the podcast if you would.
We'd love
let others know. Thank you. I would love for there to be people that are out there that maybe pick up this podcast, that maybe a light turns on. They realize, hey, we're in trouble in this area, and we're going to address it and make our life, our marriage vibrant,
healthy, and everything that God intends for it to be.
Hey.
Man.
Look forward to being with you next time. Again, thank you for joining us today.
That's right. Your home matters.
Bye-bye.